Mr. Samarasinha, the 30th anniversary of Chernobyl accident showed again the huge damage to Belarus economy caused by the accident and the unique experience the country has received together with the help of young systems. So how could you help to distribute this unique experience between other countries to avoid such accidents? And hasn't the Chernobyl agenda become less important because 30 years is a long time and we can get used to this tragedy?
Well, Grigori, first of all, let me say that indeed we have marked the 30th anniversary yesterday, and as you know, in Minsk we had the administrator of UNDP here on behalf of the Secretary General of the United Nations to jointly again mark the anniversary along with representatives of Russia and Ukraine, and the conference was hosted by Belarus. Quite appropriate, I believe, considering that Belarus, both in terms of human impact as well as the territory, was the most affected by this disaster. That said, I also would like to note that yes, indeed, the United Nations system, as was the international community as a whole, ready to help and did help over the last 3 decades, Belarus and Ukraine, to some extent Russia. But the most significant contribution, or not contribution, but the most significant effort to deal with the consequences of Chernobyl in Belarus was in fact by Belarus itself. And you have spent billions of dollars over the last 3 decades addressing the impact of the catastrophe. So I should congratulate Belarus, acknowledge the effort made by Belarus and Belarusians from the immediate aftermath of the disaster till this very day.
Some experts even believe that if there were no Chernobyl, Belarus will have more sustainable economic development and standards of living.
Well, certainly if you consider that there were billions of dollars spent from the economy of this country to deal with the impact, and that money could have been invested, let's say, in other sectors, in health, in education generally, simple mathematics suggests to you that indeed the economy could have been in a better place. At the same time, I think you could make the argument as well that in addition to the money actually spent, the lack of productivity in certain parts of Belarus, 2% of your territory is affected. There is an exclusion zone of 4,000 square kilometers. These are areas that could have been very productive, and people as well who left, not only left Chernobyl affected areas in Belarus, but possibly even left the country, went to other countries. So indeed there was a great loss to the economy, and I am certain that Belarus could have been in a much better place if not for the catastrophe. Having said that, I'm also cognizant of the fact that Belarus has, in spite of Chernobyl, done a considerably good job in achieving the Millennium development goals in the last 15 years, especially with respect to the first goal, reducing poverty. I always say that it's quite a feat to have been able to reduce absolute poverty from more than 40% to around 5% in 15 years. It is, and on top of that, it's also important to note that you are in fact doing very well with respect to the Gini coefficient, which measures inequality. So you don't have huge disparity within your population in terms of poverty. So yes, Chernobyl had a disastrous impact on your economy, but at the same time, you've managed to do quite well in the last couple of decades, despite this catastrophe. Now, final point on this, however, is that we do know now that you're facing significant economic crisis in this country, to quite an extent as a result of what's happening in the region and globally, what's happening with respect to your neighbors' economies. And so we need to do something about it now. And indeed, the Chernobyl-affected communities need particular attention because they are especially vulnerable to this kind of economic crisis.